Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm Jade Scott. This is GrowthRx, and I am so excited today about this presentation for a lot of reasons. One, firstly, because I love DISC psychometric profiling and offering 360-degree feedback to our team, to other people. It fascinates me. But the second reason why I'm excited about this is because I get to introduce to you this guy here, affectionately known at Western Region Health as Top Dog, but he is pretty much my right-hand man and has been for the last 10 years. So I am proud to introduce to you all Michael Mannix.
Welcome. Hey everyone. All right, so this is something I could have talked for hours and hours on. I could have spent all day chatting to everyone, but I've tried to roll it into a nice little sort of half hour. I'll probably go a bit over the half hour, but a nice little presentation that packs a punch and just delivers enough that everyone can get a good understanding and you know, better know what it is and why do I need it. And then they can apply it straight away, particularly with the health, allied health setting. I think that a lot of the DISC type stuff that we do tends to be in regards to big corporate world, but there's so much value in it, and hopefully that's what I'll help with today. So we'll go through my why first. There's a nice little photo of our team, a couple of photos of our team. They're probably the ones that inspired me to go on this journey. It started a lot longer. It starts from, if I could have photos of my patients, I'd have them up there as well. So my why, I began sort of my CPD life and my continual professional development, looking at different ways I could help myself clinically. You know, a lot of the dry needling and movement courses and chronic pain and all these different fields that I looked at, looking for a bit of a niche and where I sit, but it always came back to the people. I didn't really want to pigeonhole what I was doing. I didn't want to say, oh, these are the type of patients that I treat. I loved the variety that I got, and the variety that I got was all based on their personalities, and that's where I got the best out of it. So I started looking at things, you know, from love languages and doing a bit of emotional intelligence stuff with you, Jade, and recently looking at working genius and all these different things that can help from that perspective and help branch out. But rather than spreading myself thin, it was DISC that inevitably I became most interested in. And then I started to deep dive and really look into it and research it. And I've listened to hours of podcasts and read books and literature, and there's so much that I found really valuable. And so that's what I'll deliver today. So a little bit of history. Some people like it, some people don't, but depends what type you are. But the appreciation that I want you to get for this is just how far back it tracks. You know, from ancient Greeks and Aztecs, thinking of personality was impacted by external elements. Hippocrates looked at, you know, other things as well. But if you look at the words choleric, phlegmatic, sanguine, and melancholic, they're words that you've heard before. And then 1920, Carl Jung, he tied personality to thought process, so intuitive, feeling, sensing, and thinking type of people. And then it was in 1926 that William Marston, he started to study the emotions of normal people, and with that he came up with the DISC model. So dominant, influencing, steady, and compliant. And since 1926 we're still running with the same four. So Walter Clark created DISC in 1956. He took the learnings from William Marston, and then he created what is the DISC assessment. And since then it's developed, it's changed, but the primary function and the primary groups are still the same. And so I find that really interesting to see that they haven't kept changing as we've gone along. The DISC model is what it is. So what exactly is DISC? So DISC Advanced, developed by DISC Profiles Australia, which is the ones that we use, is a personal assessment tool used by millions of people around the world to improve teamwork, communication, and productivity in the workplace. So essentially, you'll do a questionnaire that'll be, it'll be asking you how you will respond to, or what you like the most or what you like the least in certain scenarios. And then from that, we compile your answers to provide an assessment. And so it's not a matter of us having a guess as to what we think you would be like. It's about the individual stating how they are and then taking that and then building on it. We see the world not as it is, but as we are, by Stephen R. Covey. I really love this quote, and it's probably one of the ones that really helped drive my passion with it. It goes hand in hand with the, you know, the hardest part of walking in someone else's shoes is first taking off your own. I think that the perceptions and the beliefs is something that's really important. So the more we get to know about people, the more that we understand them, the better our communications are, the better our relationships are. And that's not just with your teammates, that's with your patients as well, and everyone you come in contact with. So the agenda, some of the main things we'll go through today: developing an understanding of the different individual behaviours, perceptions, ours and others is a really important part that we'll go through. Identifying the behavioural styles of others, identifying my own style. So we'll go a little bit through what the DISC advanced assessments look like, just so you can get a bit of a taste. And then communication is something that we'll go throughout as well. And then action plans, not for today. Okay, so this is a framework, but I think it's really important. We will learn about a model that identifies the main behavioural styles and the facilitator interaction between them. But the model is a tool for observing and analysing a part of their behaviour. It's not analysing their whole personality. It does not classify people as good or bad, nor measure intelligence. And that's a really important thing as well. People start to think, oh, what are you actually checking when we do it? It's just about how you see the world. It doesn't measure knowledge or skills. And another thing, none of the behavioural styles is better or worse. You don't sit there and say, oh, I want to be that one, or I want to be that one. You don't want to try and guess what you want the answer to be, because they all have their strengths and weaknesses. So behaviour, which is what we elicit or how we act, is a function of personality and surrounding factors. So if we better understand the personality of those that are around us, we can control the surrounding factors. You know, some people, they do well under pressure. You put them under pressure, they turn into a diamond. Other people under pressure, they just crumble. So it's about finding out what their personality is, and then how we can create a really nice environment that's going to help the behaviour of the person and help us get the most out of them. And I think it's really nice if we have that understanding of where their personality lies, that we can then take some of that responsibility in creating the best workplace possible. So we'll get into it and we'll go through what the behavioural styles are. So D style, which is dominant, decisive, tough, strong-willed, competitive, demanding, independent, self-centered, moves fast, takes risks, goal-orientated, gets things done now, likes control and power. And we've got the lion there, and I think that really does sort of show it. Really majestic, beautiful animals. You do still need to be careful of them though. Under pressure, they lack concern. So they're so goal-orientated, they just want to get the job done. And in doing so, if they miss out on a few people, harm a few people along the way, then so be it. And that's how they'll act. So if we have an understanding of that, we know the people that are going to get their job done. We just have to make sure they're doing it the right way. And fear, loss of control. They want to control their environment. And if you take that away from them, that's when they're going to really arc up. So the I style. I is the influencing style. We've got the cute little otters there, and they're lovely. So really cute. And you can really appreciate that they love that connection, the I style. They're sociable, they're talkative, they're open, they're very enthusiastic, energetic, they're persuasive in the way that they chat to you. They can be very emotional, and that's just how involved they get with people. They're very optimistic, lively, people-oriented and spontaneous. Under pressure, disorganized. So they're the ideas people. They love things and they bring that high energy and they get things done and they start all these different projects, but they don't necessarily finish them. So you need these people to create that momentum and get things going. But then you really need to hone in on them and sort of say, right, we've done the first part. Now what are the steps that go thereafter? And their biggest fear, social rejection. They want to be loved. They want to be liked. They want to be a part of it. So the S style. So S style is steadiness. So they're just like the golden retriever, that calm, steady, careful, patient. They're really good listeners. They're modest, trustworthy, laid back, persistent, shy, quiet. Under pressure, they're too willing. There's the sort of people, they're your yes man. You know, you ask them to do something, oh yes, I can do that. They don't want to let you down. And so they just put too much on their plate and they keep saying yes and they keep saying yes until the bundle just drops out, okay? And fear, loss of stability. So they've got their nice harmonic environment, which is easy and peaceful. And if you come through and shake that up at all with any big major changes or anything like that, that's going to really make their mark up, because that's their biggest fear. And the C style. So C is compliant, or I've also seen it as conscientious, It's also been put as A for analytical, and it's been a DISA system in certain places. But the C style, at the end of the day, they're precise, follow the rules, logical, careful, formal, disciplined, analytical. They want the data, the information, very matter of fact. They do things correctly, so they do it once, do it right. They're under pressure, they're overly critical. They're the sort of people that will just keep working until it's perfect. And then at the end of the day, they're not handing anything in. You know, when you're at uni and it says, answer these 4 questions, and they've spent all their time on the first question because they haven't gotten it right to be able to move to the next one. And then as a result of that, their fear is criticism of work, because they put so much time and effort to get things right. For you to come out and say, you know, this isn't great, or maybe you need to work on it, they take it very personally, as they should. And so they've got the beaver there. The beaver just go about their business, very important to the environment, and that probably represents them really well. So there are 4 major styles, and this ties it in so that you can get a bit of an idea as to when certain ones will come out and when they don't. So first of all, if we go through the priority ones, so the high priority is your C and your D, and then less of a priority is your I and your S. So high priority just means they're task orientated, okay? Whereas your I and S, they're more people orientated. They're more about the relationships and about the connecting. So the C and D, they want to be competent. They want to get the work done and make sure it's there. Whereas your I and S, they're more about connection, more about being approachable. That's how they progress through. So this I and S, they struggle with conflict because they want to be liked. They want to be in amongst that group. Whereas the C and D, they're not as phased about conflict. They're a bit more skeptical. So they struggle more with your vulnerability side of things. Vulnerability is something particularly in leadership that gets branded around a lot at the moment. And it is something that's really, really important, because that's how we get people to open up if we first do ourselves. But the C and D, because they're more skeptical in nature, they're less likely to open up. They would prefer that they're in control and that they make a mistake rather than be let down by other people. Whereas the I and S, they're sort of people that would prefer to give you a chance. And then if you let them down, then that wasn't their doing, that was your doing. And that's just how they both, that's the difference between them all. If we think about relationships, and it's probably a good way to sum it up, if you've got an I or S partner, and you have dinner, and then they want you to show a bit of love, and they're sitting on the couch, they want cuddles. They want you to show their love by snuggling in and enjoying a movie perhaps. Whereas your C and D partners, they're the sorts that if you're going to show your love, then do something for them. You know, go and do the dishes and clean the house and have, you know, yourself prepared for the next day, because the people side of it and the cuddles and stuff, they're not as interested in it. They're all about the task. They want you to do something. Okay, so that's a priority. Pace, if we go to each side of it, so your D and your I, you're fast paced, and your C and your S, a lot slower paced. And what that means is your D and your I, they take control, they take action, they step up, they want to be involved. They're in control of their environment and they're going to make things happen. Whereas your C and S, a bit slower paced, they're happy to observe. They're happy to sit back and to watch. If karaoke is going on, they don't need to jump up on stage. They're happy for you to go up on stage. D and I's, they've probably got the microphone. With that, your C and S, therefore, they're more your risk assessment. They're going to watch, wait, and see how things are going. Where your D and I's, they're looking more at the opportunities. They're looking at, well, how can I get something out of the situation that I'm in? So for example, a GrowthRx Live, your D's and I's, they're chomping at the bit. They're ready to step up, get involved, and they want to present, they want to do something. Whereas your C and your S, they're sort of sitting back going, I enjoy it and I think it's great, but it might not be for me. They will step out of their style, because you can also, as long as you recognize where you sit and what your style is, they will step out, but they might have things like a PowerPoint. So they're nice and prepared and they've limited the amount of risks that go into it. So one side, they're happy being passive. The other side, they want to get involved. So with that, now we've got the 4. Let's have a look at some types of practitioners that are out there. Like this lovely lady that we've got here. She's a definite I. Seen her before, Jade?
Oh, wow.
So don't ask where I got it from. So here we have a very I style practitioner. you know, she's pretty much built a business on being they're fantastic, the eyes, first and foremost. They're really, really good at engaging. They love a chat. They've got that connection side of it that we were talking about. So they bring their patients along for the ride. They want to help. They're high energy. They're very optimistic. And they're really, really nice for the patients to be able to come in and have someone that controls the consult, because they are that high-paced sort of thing. But they need to stay on track with the time and the task side of it. So they might spend too much of their time just chatting away and not actually getting to the next steps. You may have to just keep them in line with their time in particular. On the other side of it, we've got, which I don't know, we'll just keep this picture up. I thought it deserves its airtime. So the other practitioners, so a D-style practitioner, also really, really good. They come in, they are high task orientated, they are fast paced, so they control the consult. They're there to get a job done. They're going to walk in and make sure the patient's looked after and can progress. If you think of The Biggest Loser, and we've got the commando on there, he's there, he's yelling at them, he'll push patients out of their comfort zone to get the results that are needed. Not afraid of conflicts, but they want the results. But they need to be wary of the human element. They need to be wary that patients need to like you in terms to come back first and foremost, but they need that human connection to like you to get the results too. So the other practitioners, we've got our S-style. S-style, fantastic. They're brilliant because they're the best listeners. You know, they don't have any ego, so the patient always comes first. You know, they want to do everything they possibly can so that everything's working, because they don't like to lose that stability. As I said before, they like that nice, calm environment. So that's what they want to create for the patient. And they've just got to be wary of putting too much pressure on themselves, because you don't always get the results. And sometimes there is going to be a little bit of conflict, because a patient's going to come in and things aren't going to go the way they want it to. And an S type of practitioner is therefore going to take it a little bit personally because they haven't been able to help, which is the one thing they really, really want to do. Okay, and C, again, awesome practitioners, just like all of them. They all have their strengths, and they're brilliant when need be. These are your really big problem solvers. They're analytical. They're going to pull apart things and get to the bottom of it. They're slower paced, but that means that they're just happy to chip away and chip away and chip away until they find exactly what this patient needs. They're very analytical, and they get to work on one of the greatest machines going around in the human body. And that's why there's a lot of C practitioners out there, because you're drawn to allied health because of the complexities and the enjoyment they get out of it. But the thing they have to be wary of is that they still need to make sure the patient's coming along with them. They're so task orientated that they've got to make sure that the patient's following what they're saying. They might deliver a treatment plan, which is one of the best that you've ever seen, but without that connection and without that patient coming along with them, we don't know where it's actually ended up. Okay, so there's just a very brief snapshot of the 4 types of practitioners that you get when they're eliciting those sort of personality styles. And then we've got the same thing but happening with our different types of patients. So we need to be aware of who's in front of us so that we can adapt accordingly. And then what we're going to go through is how to motivate them as well. So your D-style patients, they're the ones that come in, they know what they want, they're task orientated. They basically tell you, I want you to do this, do this, do this, do this. And sometimes we get caught up in that. And sometimes we get a little bit taken back and go, oh, I'm meant to be in charge here. I don't want you telling me what to do. And we take it really personal. But if we can stop and think, well, I might have a bit of a D-style in front of me, we understand that, okay, they cut the crap, they know what they want, and that's what they're there for. So as long as it's safe to do so, as long as we ask the relevant questions, we can still deliver a service that they're after, because they want immediate feedback on what they've said. They want you to concentrate on them. They probably don't care as much about your weekend as the I-style will. And they just want it about results. So that's what you really have to keep in mind. And you can't frustrate their desire to start action. You can't restrict their power, and you can't spend time on the non-essentials. So as soon as you say, oh, hold on a second, we're not doing that, and you restrict their power, you're going to lose that patient. But if you have an appreciation that, all right, let's just let them speak, take it on board, and then bring it back of, all right, here's your immediate feedback. This is what we need to do, and this is what's actually going to get you better in this instance and the way you are today. That's really important too, okay? And then we have our I style patients. So they're there for the chat as much as anything else. They want you to connect with them. They want to hear about how you went on the weekend. They want to tell you their story as well. They want to tell you not just the first part, but the second part and the third part, and they'll keep on talking because that's what they value. Okay, so you want to be responsive and you want to listen to them. You want to give them assurance. You want to keep up that optimistic vibe that they're bringing as well, and you want to be with them all the time. So you want to make sure that you're connecting with these patients, because that's how you're then going to persuade them to go down the path they need to go down. And you don't want to set unnecessary restrictions, put down their enthusiasm, or react negatively, because then they're going to sit there and go, oh, I just didn't really like him. I'm not sure about him. And you'll lose those people as well. The S style, so your steadiness, these patients, they're very obliging. And again, they don't want to let you down. So they're actually quite a difficult patient in some instances, because you'll ask how they're going and they'll say, good. You know, they're better at listening, not at talking. So we need to encourage them to speak. We need to create a comfortable environment that feels calm, that enables them to start talking. And then as they're talking, we offer praise and really communicate that you're doing a great job. This is what we need from you. And they need to maintain that continuity. What we can't do with them is make sudden changes, be restless, or work against what was agreed. So if things change, we have to sort of prep them for it. If we're thinking that they potentially might need a scan or to see a specialist, we need to prep them for it. You need to give them the steps ahead and show them the thinking that we're getting, so that they can adapt to it and be ready for it. They don't want to walk out of a room and go, oh, he's just told me I must do this and I must do that. And it's very blunt. They just don't respond well to it, that style at all. Okay. And your C style, they're very well researched and prepared. They're probably going to come in, and whether it be Google or anything else, they're going to tell you what their diagnosis is and how they got to it and what they need to be doing and what we need to be doing as well. But they do come to us for our professional opinion. And if we don't know, or if we sort of fudge it a little bit, or if we blur the lines, or if we're a bit vague, that's not their style. If you don't know, they would prefer you say, look, I'm not 100% on that, but I will get back to you. I'll need to look that up further, because they've probably already done all the research there is to go with it. So there's no point you're trying to pull the wool over their eyes. So they want detailed information. They want to be open for questions, and they want to give time to think and prepare. Okay, with these guys, they're going to be asking you as you go along, what are you doing and why are you doing it? Or what's this technique? Or how's that going to help me? Oh yeah, and what are you doing next? And where did this come from? And where does that attach to? And so it's great, because the more we talk, the more information you get, the more trust we're building, and the more they're going to like us. So don't keep that information to yourself. You want to be sharing with these people. Don't push them for answers straight away. They need to process what's been done. They're not in that fast pace, they're in that slow pace. And don't pretend to know without having full understanding, as I was just saying before. So they're our patients that we've got. Here is the behavioural chart that you get with the disc events we do. So even though I've just talked about the 4 main types, and we've got our DISC, everyone has, meshes and blends of different things. So we've got our pure trait people, and they are out there. We've got our 2 even traits, where they sort of sit on the fence. They've got both of them. We've got people that have 1 trait stronger than another. We've got people that have 3 quite dominant traits. And then we do have the opposites that come in. We don't have people that have all 4, because if you have all 4, you're confused. And the assessment actually won't let you do it, because someone that's saying that they go out but they like to stay in, or someone that's, likes conflict but doesn't like conflict, and that just butts heads, it'll sit there and say, well, you've not got all 4. And for some reason, a lot of people want to have more. They think that that's more, oh, I've got all 4 traits, and they think that would be a really good idea. But what it does is it creates a lot of confusion. If you don't have a personality or a particular style that you exhibit, and then people won't know what to get from you. Okay, so Jade, you won't mind me saying, you're a high I. You're a very, very I without anything else. And so we know what to expect from you. We know exactly who you are. You show up and you are who you are, without us having to go, well, who is she today? Or what is she going to, how's she going to respond to this? We can basically guess who's going to be in front of us in regards to whatever environment they're in. So the opposite to I is C. I know that if you ever have to see a COVID safe plan again, you're going to probably stick something in your eye, because that analytical and those rules and regulations things you just don't like. you have an appreciation that you don't like it. So you either get the right people to do it, or when you do it, you go, oh, this is so draining, but I know that it's just not me. Okay, so the environment's much nicer when we know the people that are in front of us. The other thing with it is sometimes you'll see the 3 traits in people that are new to your business. And if they're new, they don't know where they are and they haven't found their feet. Inversely, the people who have been there for a while, they've learned to blend and figure out what things work really, really well throughout the whole environment, so they could also be with several traits. Page 2 of the DISC assessment that we do. This is one of my favorite things because it shows more than just what you are. Okay, and if we look at the person that's in front of us here, you can see that their adjusted style and their natural style, they're a high C. And once upon a time when we did the little tests and assessments with DISC, it was just a matter of fill the things out and then it spat out where you were, you know, you're a C. And I can be a C, but there's so much more happening and there's so much more that we can read into it. And that's purely from this chart. And if we look at this person in particular, you can see in their natural style, the I is quite low, and in their adjusted style, the I comes up quite a bit. And it's the biggest shift that they've got on their graph. And so someone with this, it could be an osteo, they love the problem solving of osteo, or any health practitioners out there, sorry. But they love the health science component of it, naturally don't have much I, but then their adjusted style, they know that they have to bring that connection. And so they know they have to present this different form of themselves. So at work, that's what they do. And they start to show more of the I property. Okay, and if this is one of my co-workers, they might not want to talk at lunchtime. They might not want to come to social events because naturally they don't have that I social component to them. They will do it because it's part of the job and they still love the job. It's not like, oh, they're doing a job they don't want to be part of. They still love the job and they love the aspects of the job, but they have to bring a different version and that can become tiring for them. So if they don't want to talk at lunchtime, I don't sit there going, oh, what's wrong with this guy? We know that that's just how they are or what they're like. And likewise, if they've done this for themselves and they go home to a loved one and they say, oh, do you know what? I did a DISC today and I realized that I have to bring this other version of myself. So when I come home and I don't want to talk for the first, hour, whatever it is, this is why. It's just how I've been, okay? The other thing that we see with this is not only does it show what they are. So one of the ladies at our work, she's a very high S and she suits the S to a T. She is that very calm, loving type of person, but her D is so far down on this graph that it's almost bottoming out. She has got no D in her at all, both natural and adjusted. So she's shocking with conflict, doesn't want it. It makes her nervous, it makes her uncomfortable. There was one incident where she had a patient that just didn't sit in that nice, calm environment and it made her feel, she couldn't explain it, but it just made her feel wrong. And then we knew that because of her D style, we can't expect her to deal with that situation. Can't expect her, did you let him down lightly, or what methods did you use, or maybe we can use these techniques. So we knew that based on that, we had to step up and had to go through that uncomfortable conflict type situation to make sure that she doesn't go through it. And the other thing with that is that she also doesn't give much feedback because she doesn't want to give constructive criticism because she's always looking for the positives, and that's just her natural style. And so with that, we still want feedback from her. We still want to receive that. We know that that's how she is. So we've put methods in place where she fills out a form that says areas of concern. And then she's almost letting us down if she doesn't put something in. And because she's a high S and she's a pleaser, she makes sure that she always fills it in and we get valuable information from there. So you have to look at more than just what the person is. It's also what they aren't and then where they sit on that. Okay. So here's the behavioural chart again. We can just see the natural versus adjusted plotted on there nicely, which you'll get for each individual. So you can see where they are natural and then what they're having to start to add into their personality. It also gives you a bit of a look at the different types there too. So you can see where it's moving. So D likes control, focused on results, fast decisions, daring, assertive. So similar, all the sort of stuff that we've already sort of talked about. I, you're optimistic, emotional. S, you're steady, low risk. C, you're perfectionist, starters, rules. And then you can see those blends where they come into it as well. So I and S, that collaborative approach. So team orientated, persuasive, supportive, peacemaker, flexible. I and D, So they're your faster pace, entrepreneurial, high energy, new concepts, assertive and persuasive, engaging. Your C and your S, so they're your slower paced people. They just want clarity. They want values. They value the rules, but deliver with diplomacy, organised, composed. And C and D, your task people. So practical, value facts over emotions, efficient, high standard. So there we can see just the complexity of it, rather than just this person is a CS, there's more to it, okay? And there's two parts, they're natural and they're adjusted behavior. In the report, we'll also go through, it has your general characteristics, general workplace predispositions, behavioural insights, environmental factors, style considerations, trait intensity and perceptions, reaction modes, communication, advanced related behavioural analysis. Basically, there's a lot more to the report than what we first see. There's write-ups on all of these things, highlighting where the strengths and weaknesses are, how they are in certain environments. It's all in there. So I just wanted to give you a bit of an appreciation that the report's not just you are a D or you are a C. There's much more to it, and this is where we'll start to see it. With that, one last thing that I wanted to go through is perceptions, because I think this is really, really important. We sort of showed that people can be a C, or S, and I, or D, or where they actually sit on that graph, because this is just taken from the graph back here. Okay, so based on this one, this is where they sit. Sorry, this is where they sit. And so it's really important that because you are who you are, you think you come off a certain way, okay? So the high D, they might see themselves as daring, but those around them see them as argumentative, okay? There's always positive and negatives to all the styles, and you have to be aware of who you are and who's in front of you to know what you're going to present. So for this person, for example, their highest intensity with the traits is how low the I is. So with that I being so low, they might just think that they're quiet or even pensive, but other people might see them as suspicious and pessimistic. And so by getting this graph and by seeing where you sit on it, you can say, okay, well that relates to me, that relates to me, that relates to me. Oh, that's how I can be perceived. And so it actually gives you a few words that might resonate with you, and then you can think about how others will perceive you as well. All right, done not bad with time, good. So there's a bit of a rundown. I've tried to sort of condense it so that it fits in the time frame properly. There were so many other things I could have talked about, but once I open that, it's like opening Pandora's box, and we end up down a very big hole of